Hello everyone, my name is Elite Trainer Kenway and I'm here to celebrate our official introduction into Generation 9 with the worldwide releases of Pokémon Scarlet and Pokémon Violet. And in order to do that, I have just one question. What's up with the school? Because while every single region we visited so far has had some sort of trainer academy, the Naranja and Uva Academies of Paldea have taken center stage in the promotional material leading up to the release of Scarlet and Violet today. As a matter of fact, we've learned more about Uva Academy and Naranja Academy than we have about Generation's 9 battle gimmick, Terastallization. So it's fair to say that this academy is going to be extremely important not only in Paldea, but the rest of the Pokemon world. But what role specifically does Naranja/Uva Academy play on the Pokemon world stage? It's quite simple, so I'm not going to waste any time burying the lead. The Naranja and Uva Academy exists for the sole purpose of creating Elite Four members for the rest of the world. Not only that, but the Terastallization phenomenon is why so many Elite Four members use Pokemon outside of their type speciality. Don't believe me? Let's get started. Right, before we start talking about Elite Four members, let's learn what we can about the Naranja/Uva Academy. So, for those of you who don't know, the Naranja Academy is the oldest school in the Paldea region in Pokemon Scarlet, located in Mesagoza. And the Uva Academy is the exact same school, but in Pokemon Violet. So they're the same school, but with two different names. Got it? Good. So from the Pokemon website, we learned that the Naranja Academy sits in Paldea's largest city, Mesagoza, and also that it, quote, boasts a history that few other schools do, where people from all sorts of regions come to hone their skills through academics and Pokemon battles. Now, if you can't tell already, we've already had three major clues as to why I think Naranja Academy may be the breeding ground for all of the world's Elite Four members. It's an extremely old school that hosts trainers from all around the world, sitting in an extremely densely populated mega city in the middle of what otherwise is a fairly empty region. Let's keep going. Quote again, age is not an issue in enrollment here, so a wide range of ages from children to adults take the same classes which mostly relate to Pokemon. So again, you're starting to see my pattern of thinking here. Naranja Academy is not looking for necessarily young trainers to hone them up to become professional trainers. They're looking for the world's best trainers, regardless of age, so they can hone their skills even further to become the best of the best in their home region. The website also says, furthermore, there are two other grand stories besides your journey to become a champion. Not the champion like Lance, Cynthia, or Leon, but a champion. Quote again directly from the Pokemon website. The Paldea region has a Pokemon League and a special class of pro-rank Pokemon trainers who have achieved the champion rank. Becoming champion in the Paldea region is not a single title that one trainer holds. It's an entire class held by several trainers who have graduated from the Naranja/Uva Academy. Quote, these trainers have grown with their Pokemon to be able to dazzle audiences with their skills in battle. Who does that sound like if not the Elite Four? What other class of Pokemon trainers do you know that not only are Pokemon masters in their own right, but also are masters of entertainment through the use of Pokemon battling? I suppose you could say gym leaders, but honestly, I don't think that Brock went through too much training to become the gym leader of the Pewter City Gym. Most gym leaders, I would argue, are not Pokemon masters. Far from it, but Elite Four members, absolutely. Now, at this point, I do need to come clean. Everything you've heard before this point has been widely available on the Pokemon website for months now. However, there was one bit of leaked information that I hope was true because my entire theory absolutely hinges on this. Now, the official Pokemon website, at least up until yesterday, reported that there was only 8 gym badges that were needed, but several leaks suggested that the actual number of badges you have to collect in order to take the Champion's Assessment to become a champion of Paldea is 18. If the leaks are correct, that means that in order to take the champion assessment to become a Paldean champion, you have to have gotten a badge for every single Pokemon type in existence. So if the whole 18 gym badges thing is true, what I just described to you is absolutely the perfect environment to create Elite Four members and then ship them out to regions where they're needed. And it's at this point that I feel compelled to mention to you that we don't officially know how someone becomes a member of the Elite Four in their respective regions. After nearly 30 years and 9 generations of Pokemon, we still don't have an official answer to that very basic question. The only two people who we see become members of the Elite Four are Koga in Generation 2 and Molayne in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. And we still don't know how that happens. So I believe that Generation 9 finally gives us an answer to that question. Case number 1, the Poison type specialist, Fuchsia City gym leader turned Indigo Plateau Elite 4 member. Now, in a video I made a couple of weeks ago, I casually mentioned that of the 28 Elite 4 members we've met in the first 7 generations, an overwhelming amount of Elite 4 members has at least one Pokemon that can be found in the Paldea region. On Koga's Elite 4 team in Gold, Silver, and Crystal, he uses 3 Pokemon that we know can be found in Paldea: Muck, Venomoth, and Forretress. And Forretress is the Pokemon that I believe he might have actually gotten in the Paldea region. Why do I say that? Because of Generation 9's main battle gimmick, Terastallization. You see, every gym member as well as every Elite 4 member has to have some kind of type speciality. Bruno's is fighting, Agatha's is ghost, Lance's is dragons, Lorelei's is ice, and Koga's is poison. But there's absolutely no rule that says that you have to use a Pokemon of your type speciality if you are a member of the Elite 4. And I believe that after the events of Red, Blue, and Yellow, when Lance stepped up to become the champion of the Indigo Plateau, Koga took his team of Poison-type Pokemon over to Paldea to take the Champion's Assessment, leaving his gym in the hands of his daughter Janine, so that he could return to Kanto with the qualification necessary to fill that empty Elite 4 seat. So why do I think that Forretress might have come from Paldea? It's simple. He didn't have it before. Pineco and Forretress are not found in the Safari Zone. Pineco and Forretress are not found in the Kanto region at all. They're only found in the Johto region. And Koga does not seem like the type of person who would travel all the way to Johto just to catch another Pokemon. But his appearance in Generation 2 proves that he is the type of person who would do absolutely anything necessary to become a better trainer and to gain a higher status within the Kanto region. So I believe that Koga gave his gym to Janine, traveled to Paldea to take the Champion's Assessment, which again can be done by a trainer of any age from anywhere in the world, met a Pineco, used the Terastallization phenomenon to turn it into a poison type while it was in Paldea, and took his certification back to Kanto to become the newest Elite 4 member. The next Elite 4 member I want to talk about is Drake from the Hoenn region. Drake is an old sailor who has traveled all around the world, who coincidentally, just like Koga, also has 3 Pokemon who could have come from Paldea. But his Pokemon are actually not the main reason why I think Drake may have graduated from Paldea. It's his attitude towards the Elite 4 in general. One of the things that you learn about Drake in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald is that he strongly believes that the Elite 4 is better than the Battle Frontier. Not only that, but he specifically says the Elite 4's challenge is superior to that of the Battle Frontier. Now, admittedly, he could very well have been talking about you, the player, challenging the Elite 4 versus you, the player, challenging the Battle Frontier. But he also very well could have been talking about him taking the Champion's Assessment using only his team of Dragon-type Pokemon. If that's what Drake had to do just to become an Elite 4 member in Hoenn, then it absolutely makes sense that he holds the Elite 4 in higher regard than the Battle Frontier. This next one I have a pretty good feeling about. The Fire-type specialist of the Sinnoh region, none other than Flint himself. Now, why do I think Flint got his certification in Paldea? He has very few actual Fire-type Pokemon for a Fire-type specialist. He has Infernape, Rapidash, Lopunny, Steelix, and Drifblim. That's not a Fire-type specialist. He's barely even a Fire-type user at that point, until you consider the idea that when he was taking the Champion's Assessment in Paldea, his Lopunny, Steelix, and Drifblim were all Fire Terastallized during the Champion's Assessment trials. I don't think it's a coincidence that during one of the trailers in the lead up to Scarlet Violet's release, we get to see a very up close look of a Fire Terastallized Drifblim. That was not a coincidence, guys. That was a hint that Flint's Drifblim came from the Paldea region, or at the very least was caught in Sinnoh, taken to Paldea where it was Terastallized to become Fire type during Flint's Champion's Assessment trials. Flint very well could have Fire Terastallized Drifblim, Steelix, and Lopunny in order to use them during the Champion's Assessment. As a matter of fact, that is the only way that Flint can become the Fire type master, despite the fact that half of his team are not Fire type Pokemon. Until you get to Platinum and realize that they added Houndoom, Magmortar, and Flareon to fix that. Now, honestly, I could go down the entire list of Elite Four members and talk about why I think it's possible that each and every single one of them might have gone to Paldea and taken the Champions Assessment. But if I do that, this video is going to be 45 minutes long and no one's going to watch it past the first 30 seconds. So, real quick, before we get to our main and final Elite Four member, I want to talk about a few honorable mentions. We have Agatha, another world-traveled Pokemon trainer who has 2 Gengar. Even though canonically speaking in the games, no one from the Kanto region should have been able to even evolve a Haunter into a Gengar, given that evolving Haunter means you have to send it to another dimension entirely and trust that the other person will send it back. But the only 2 regions in the Pokemon world where you can catch a wild Gengar? Galar and Paldea. Karen and Will, 2 trainers who are both in their early 20s and both appear out of nowhere to join the Indigo Elite Four. Karen especially, who, just like Agatha, has another Gengar, despite the fact that Gengar is not only not a Dark type, but is extremely weak to all of her Dark type Pokemon, unless he was Terastallized to become a Dark type. And Glacia of the Hoenn Elite Four, a trainer that is specifically mentioned to have trained in an unspecified region, which is Pokemon shorthand for a region we haven't heard of yet, who also manages to have 2 Pokemon that can be found in Paldea. And so before we get to our last mystery trainer, if I'm going to take myself seriously as a content creator, that means every once in a while I'm going to have to do some YouTuber things. So I'm going to go ahead and take this opportunity now to ask you that if you like this theory so far, or at the very least think the concept of Pokemon theories in general is intriguing, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel right there, and go ahead and comment who your favorite Elite Four member is. I'm trying my best to make every single video better than the one that came before it and make each and every video worth your subscription. And the best way for me to find out if I'm progressing these videos in the right way is through your engagement. So with that out of the way, let's get to our last mystery trainer. Which, if you've been paying attention even a little bit, it shouldn't be any mystery at all who I'm about to talk about. The strongest case that I can make for someone who trained in Paldea before taking his role as a member of the Elite Four is Lance. Lance is a Pokemon trainer who calls Blackthorn City in Johto his home, but who has also traveled to Kanto, Unova, Kalos, and Galar. So it is absolutely no stretch of the imagination to assume that Lance has also traveled in Paldea. We know that Lance has traveled to Kanto because obviously he's in the Gen 1 games. We know that Lance has traveled to Unova because he's in the World Championships in Black 2 and White 2. We know that Lance has either traveled to Kalos or at the very least is extremely familiar with the Kalos region because in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee he has a Charizard X, which you can only get in the Kalos region. We also know, thanks to the anime, that Lance has spent some time training in the Galar region. Now, while I do not consider the anime whatsoever in making these theories, Lance's appearance in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, taking heavy inspiration from the Dragon Gem in Galar, pretty much cements his time training in Galar as canon not only in the anime, but in the games as well. And looking at Lance's team in the original Red, Blue, and Yellow, he has Gyarados, Dragonair, Dragonite, and Aerodactyl. Now, of those 5 Pokemon, 4 of them can be found native in the Paldea region. And again, just like Flint and Koga, Lance absolutely could have used Gyarados and Aerodactyl in their Dragon Terastallized forms during his official gym matches in the Champions Assessment. So that's pretty much it from you guys. I definitely think this theory has legs to stand on. All the pieces to the puzzle are there. And by the time you're watching this, I'll definitely be playing Pokemon Scarlet. And I'm definitely going to take the gym challenge first just to test out this theory and see if there are any more puzzle pieces there. I might do a follow-up in a couple of weeks. But anyway, let me know in the comments what you think about this theory, if you think this theory holds water, and who is your favorite Elite Four member. I'm very interested in hearing your thoughts about this theory because I spent a number of weeks leading up to the release of Scarlet Violet working on this theory, researching it, thinking through it, and thinking of which Elite Four members I can make the strongest case of as graduates of the program in Paldea. So that is pretty much it from you guys. I'm actually taking the next week entirely off of work so I can focus on Scarlet and Violet, trying to come up with new theories, trying to come up with new fun videos to post. Check back with us. Not this coming up Tuesday, but next Tuesday. I'm getting pretty good at posting once a week, so check back with us every Tuesday on that. Peace.